Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 342 of Super Switchheads, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, we're joined by a very special guest this week on the program. You know him, you love him. From GVG, welcome back to the show, the wonderful Daniel Alba. How's it going, Daniel?
Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you. Thanks for having me here again. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I looked back to see how long it was. It felt like it was a while, but I think it was like in July.
Yeah.
I think I've had so much happen during that time. I have like a new setup since then, I think.
Yeah.
I can't even the time is but a figment of my imagination at this point.
I was just saying that today. It's like the difference between 6 months ago and 1 month ago are starting to get eerily similar. But we have you on, Daniel, because we are going to be talking this week all about Mario Tennis Fever. That's right. The newest Switch 2 exclusive game has come out. We've both been playing it over the weekend, along with a lot of other things as well. I know the Virtual Boy games just dropped, or at least the Japanese ones have at the time of this recording. So we'll be talking about some of that as well. We also have lots of news to get to. There was a state of play from Sony. Obviously, they're the ones that do the state of plays. Analysts are saying that RAM shortages are going to lead to a Switch 2 price increase and much, much more. But before we get into all that, how are you doing, Daniel? You were saying it's been a minute. How's life been?
I'm doing okay. I'm just getting by. We're all working really hard on our own channel, uploading whatever we can, whenever we can. I did recently the longest video I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Recently uploaded last week. I felt like I was MIA during that month, so I want to try and get back to doing smaller things, whether it's discussions or just more of my own little shorter videos, because boy, do shorter videos look a lot more appetizing now after all that. Yeah.
No, I tell you, I've been editing our short form videos. After editing the podcast for a couple hours, going into doing the short ones is kind of a nice break every once in a while. Just from video editor to video editor.
And also, congrats. You recently had the 7th anniversary of this show.
That's true.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, it is a labor of love. It was great having the OG guys back on the show. We'll try to get them on a little bit more often as well. But yeah, no, I've been having a pretty good week so far. What did I get into? I went to a party on Friday. It was a game dev party. There were lots of friends of mine.
Oh, nice.
Lots of Retro Studios heads down here in Austin, Texas at that party. So that was really cool and fun to, rub elbows with all the game industry people here in the city, of which there are a surprising amount. And then I saw a couple movies this weekend as well. I just saw Wuthering Heights, which I kind of thought was dreadful slop, to be honest. But then I also saw a movie that I think everybody should check out, which is Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. It's like a Canadian web series that turned into a TV show that is now a movie. And I don't know, it was just hilarious and heartfelt and really good. It's basically Back to the Future Part 4. Really good movie. I recommend it. I had such a blast. So it's nice to have such a filled February at the movie theater. I feel like it's usually a dead month at the cinema.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into the news and rumors here, but before we do, I'd like to give a couple quick shout outs. As you mentioned, last week was our 7th anniversary episode of the show. We also talked about our thoughts on the Nintendo Partner Direct showcase that we had there. Over on YouTube, Swampcat said, "Damn, I'm old. Congrats on 7 years." And you are right about that. We're all feeling a little bit more worse for wear over the years. Also on YouTube, Krakow said, "The OG crew, I can't believe it's been 7 effing years." And Krakow also said, "By the way, as a huge Game Boy fan who had no idea there was a GBC port of Balloon Kid in Japan, this news came as a revelation for me." And Balloon Kid, the Game Boy Color version, is on the Japanese Nintendo Classics Game Boy app. So definitely check that out if you ever want to. Are you a Balloon Kid fan at all, Daniel?
This is also one where I didn't realize that there was actually an adaptation of the original balloon fight on the Game Boy. And that's the great thing about NSO. You discover so many titles that you just never realized actually existed or were, Japan exclusive and have come over here. I always love when those ones manage to sneak their way into the Western market and library. But this is another one I need to check out. I like to dabble with NSO every now and then. But just to see what I've missed out on over the years.
Yeah, totally. Whenever we did an episode recently with Defunct Games, and he's got his channel, which is like the NSO review crew or whatever. And so he'll go over, the reviews from when these games came out from old magazines as these games come out on the service. And it's funny to me because anytime the reviewers are complaining that the game is too short, I'm always like, great. That's awesome. I want a little bite-sized game that I can pick up and play through on my Switch, right? So I love getting those. And like you said, it's also, man, so cool that Nintendo's been porting a lot more stuff that are just in Japanese. They're like bringing a lot of stuff stateside for the first time, which I think is really great to see.
Yeah, I've definitely shared this sentiment with shorter games because when you're a fan, when your biggest fixation are the really long JRPGs or story-based games, it gets really rough to finish games at a even pace when everything else is already coming out so quickly. It feels like
God, our lives are so hard. Well, that's going to do it for the shout outs. It was great to see Matt and Patrick on that show. Everybody show them a little bit of love in our Discord. And if you would like to be shouted out next week, listener, please feel free to drop us a line down in the comments of the YouTube version of this episode. That's a great place to get in touch with us. You can also hit us up on social media, shoot us an email, or hit us up in the Discord. We'll be sure to shout you out next week. And if you can as well, shoot us a follow over there on YouTube. Like and subscribe goes a really long way. Leave us a review over on iTunes and share the show with a friend. We love word of mouth in these parts. But I think with all that out of the way, it's time to get into the news. How you feeling, Daniel? You ready to get your news on?
All right, I'm ready. Ready to go.
I've never been more ready. We're going to start today with some non-Nintendo news, actually, because there was a state of play for PlayStation that basically I think was the day after our last week's episode came out. And this was actually a really good presentation. I'm not going to lie. Usually I'm pretty bored by state of plays. They don't have a lot in them for me, but there was a lot of stuff that looked really interesting here. And there was a lot of stuff in the state of play that's going to be coming to Switch. So it's definitely worth talking about on this podcast. First of all, Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 2 is coming both to Switch 1 and Switch 2, which I was actually a little surprised to see, given that Metal Gear Solid 4, which is part of the collection, is notoriously hard to emulate. I think it's been stuck in PS3 jail for a really long time. And that's also coming over with Peace Walker and the Game Boy game, Metal Gear Solid Ghost Babel. So that's pretty cool. Are you a Metal Gear guy, Daniel?
Oh man, my first Metal Gear game was I played Sneak Eater on the PS2 at my friend's recommendation because that was around the window of time where Snake was revealed for Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Right.
And I was like, I want to get to know all the characters that are in these series. So that's one of the things that Smash is just again, one of the greatest advertisements ever made by Nintendo. Just seamlessly gets people into other series. And
very much
I got into that one. And just went back on my PS3. Actually, I went back for the rest of the series. I played the classics of Metal Gear Solid 2 or 1, the original one, and then played 4 as well. One of the many games that have been locked on the PS3. Another being a couple of the Tales of series, which has been also slowly been getting remastered and re-released on multiple consoles like the Switch 2 as well. So
it's great to see.
I love how they announced Ghost Babel as well, and they didn't say anything. It was just there. I was just there like, wait, this is a kind of a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, but in my opinion, that's the best 2D Metal Gear Solid game or Metal Gear game. Anyway, we're getting into the weeds on that. I'm very surprised to see that this is coming to Switch 1. But I guess it can run it. There is a Switch 2 version as well. And I think the original Metal Gear Solid, I almost said HD collection, what are they called? Master collections.
Master collections,
right.
Yeah.
That is also got a Switch 2 upgrade. There were a couple of the things here that were interesting. Rayman 30th Anniversary Edition was revealed. That's also already out on Switch. Big Walk was a game we talked about last week, something that we'd like to see come to Switch 2. That was sadly not revealed as coming to Switch, but maybe there's still time. That's a nebulous 2026 date. But I think the thing that had most people talking, and certainly had me talking was the reveal of a brand new Castlevania game from Motion Twin. This is called Castlevania Belmont's Curse, and it looks very much in the style of the Netflix Castlevania show. So that made me a little proud to see. I think as far as I can understand, it is a sequel to Castlevania 3, and the main character looks a lot like Sypha Belnades, looks to be probably daughter of Trevor and Sypha from those games and that original series. So that's just really exciting to see a brand new Castlevania game. Big day for Konami.
Yeah.
Lots of Konami stuff.
It was mainly the most impressive part of that whole entire state of play was Konami's section. They had like 5 things to announce in one spot. One new IP, a returning IP. Castlevania was obviously the big one there. Mm-hmm. Love to see how that's going to shape up and develop, because that's also coming to other platforms as well. Right. We've never really had a like 2D Castlevania where the whip was like a major focus. Mm-hmm. It was always just like, you're using your other weapons like swords and lances and other things. But having the whip be a focus, already seeing it in action, very interested to see how that's going to roll out.
That's right. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of like Castlevania, like Super Castlevania 4, where you would kind of swing around with it a little bit. You could like have it limp or whatever. But you're right, that the kind of whip action in this actually looks really, really cool. And I'm just excited that we're getting new Castlevania. I kind of never thought I'd see the day, especially after so many seasons of the show and just zero word on anything. It's really great to see that they're finally waking up to what gamers want, and it seems like there will be more as well. I think they said this is the first of a few projects.
For the 40th anniversary, they want to keep doing more to celebrate the series, and so this is just the first thing, and I'm curious to see where it goes from here, because I've been trying to get myself involved in the more Castlevania games as of late. So it's a nice thing to see that the series is still being thought of and is being revived for modern fans.
Totally. Now, Netflix, just shoot us a green light on a new series. We want to work on it. That's all I'll say on that. But we'll go ahead and move on to our next bit of news here. And this involves an article that was released last night. Bloomberg put this out, talking about the tech industry-wide shortage of RAM that is already affecting production of lots of tech out there right now. But specifically, the article also talked about video games and said that there were sources inside PlayStation and Nintendo, or at least sources that were aware of what is going on at both of those companies, basically saying that Nintendo is heavily considering a Switch 2 price increase. This is stuff we've been talking about for a while now. I don't know that this is necessarily confirmation of that, but at least now it's a little bit more official than it was in the past, actually being published by Bloomberg, which is, obviously a place that does cite their sources and does a lot of research. And then additionally, they said that the PS6, which was originally eyeing a release maybe as soon as the end of this year or 2027, is looking at a delay of at least 2028, maybe 2029. I want to get your thoughts on this, Daniel, because, especially when it comes to the PS6, it really still feels like the PS5 is still getting going, 5 years into its release. Do you think it's okay to see a delay of this caliber? And what do you think just about this big AI RAM debacle as a whole right now?
Man, for PlayStation in particular, it's like we also just got the PS5 Pro, which feels like just a little bit of a boost, a little inch towards PS6. But that brings to mind, like, how much further can we push this technology for PS5? Like, how much more fidelity do we need? How many more pixels do we need on our games at this point? Like, I'm happy with my PS5. If I could stick with this for a good long time. Because
and I've got the base one. I've got the very first model, and it's perfect. It's better than any other console I have.
Gosh, it's like you really get to see how are other companies going to like catch up, because the Switch, even though the Switch 1 had fairly outdated chips and whatnot compared to now, the jump it made to Switch 2 is more impressive now, because you see games like Final Fantasy VII Remake, like those are nearly on par with each other. There's obviously some visual fidelity and some of the frame rate that isn't going to be matching up to the PS5 or PS5 Pro, but Switch 2 can do a lot more than what people are giving it credit for. And so the PS6, I mean, I'm I'm not looking to upgrade my PS5 anytime in the future. Like we're still getting games released for the PS4.
Yeah.
Well, that says something for how like the cadence of improved and updated technology is going over the past several decades, or just this last decade, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I really think the kind of, as you sort of alluded to here, I think the arms race when it comes to technological progression from generation to generation is now in the handheld arena, right? And I think that just makes it difficult, especially with this RAM shortage, right? Because it's like, that's more stuff that's got to have all that tech in it. And I think the Switch 2 is far more powerful than any of us were anticipating. I think that at least, we're only just starting to see what is possible with it. I think people are starting to understand the power of it. We'll be seeing a lot of really, really impressive stuff going forward. Do you think it's going to be getting a price hike? Can you see the price going up on this? I mean, it seems inevitable, but I can't imagine that they'd want to do it before holiday 2026.
Yeah, given the market, it seems like at some point this is going to increase. It's kind of inevitable with given how much that RAM shortages are just increasing everything. Like you, even just now, people who aren't in the know, like those of you who are trying to upgrade your storage and everything, like you'll see the insane price increases compared to what has been before, even now, and it's just going to keep getting worse as we keep on, needing to increase more and more need for this kind of technology.
Yeah, I agree. Now I've been messing around a lot recently with the AYN Thor. That's kind of been my go-to console of choice. It's Android dual screen handheld that I've been doing a lot of emulation on and whatnot, and playing Steam games on and stuff like that. And that is really amazing and surprising how much power I've been able to get out of that as well. But I mean, that got a price increase. And I think we all also forget that the Switch 1 already got a price increase last year, and I think they did that so they wouldn't have to raise the price on the Switch 2. I don't know. It makes me worried about the future, and I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better.
Do you remember back in the day when you can get a GameCube for like $100 when the prices went down for consoles and not up instead?
Yeah. I paid the same for this like plastic Virtual Boy headset that came in as you could get them like in box when they were out. Only a few months after release.
It's crazy. Yeah. The whole it just keeps changing with the whole entire environment of technology and whatnot.
Yeah,
because like. I'm pretty sure Nintendo priced the Switch 2 so that they're eating some of the cost already, especially when you're releasing a game like Mario Kart with it. And so it's kind of like for the price of the game and the console itself, you're like saving $30 on the game itself to have it in there. And I don't know, maybe that's Nintendo throwing us a bone for as long as they can before they inevitably do have to increase the price, because I can't see it changing anytime soon. For the better, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think people were kind of had sticker shock whenever the Switch 2 price was announced in the first place, and I really feel like that was getting ahead of tariffs. And them knowing that was inevitably going to be a thing. But now there's like this whole second wrench thrown in. So hopefully they can at the very least hold out to the end of 2026 before they have to do a price increase. But I do think that it is very, very likely. Cross your fingers, gamers, or buy a Switch 2 now. I don't know, one or the other. But next up, we're going to talk a little bit about FromSoft. And there was a statement from Kadokawa Games, who is FromSoft's parent company, basically saying, we hear you that there was no trailer for Duskbloods or Elden Ring so far this year, but the financial reports that have come out from that company have said that those games are definitely still on track for 2026. I did think we'd be seeing them at the partner showcase and was very surprised when they didn't turn up. Maybe we'll see them in a July direct or a June direct, something like that.
Hopefully. Yeah. I'm not really much of those. That's not really my genre either. But I know how like significant it is that FromSoft is making an exclusive title like Duskbloods for the Switch 2. So people are like, are they going to say something about this? How is this going to hold up against FromSoft's other titles? And having something be exclusive to the Switch 2 like that is a major deal. So people are just like, come on, show me more. So I definitely feel that.
Added to that, this is something we didn't really put in our show notes, but it's been something I've been seeing going around on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit and on Twitter and whatnot. Is just there are rumors of a late February General Direct from Nintendo. I don't know that it really has much clout. It's been coming from some leakers that have been getting some stuff right, but to me, it's like if I don't hear it from Nate the Hate, I don't really count it as a credible leak. But have you been hearing any rumblings about a late February direct?
Late February. I feel like some people are cloud chasing right now.
Right?
Late February is dedicated to Pokemon Day. That's not going to be something that they're going to line up with that.
Yeah.
So
there
has been times where it was a direct and then Pokemon Day or vice versa, like a week after another. But we just had a direct for a partner showcase. I don't see an actual like general direct happening anytime soon for this. Because honestly, I was more interested in what partners had to show. Like we kind of know what's going on with first party. We may not know specific details for certain games like Fire Emblem, Fortune Weave, or some others. But throughout the entire first month, we got a bunch of miniature news and little presentations like for Mario Brothers.
Yeah, the Nintendo Today little drip feeds.
Tomodachi Life got its own direct. Like I think we're okay right now for directs and what's coming up for news and whatnot.
I agree. I think it's wishful thinking. 2 directs in 1 month. Come on. What are we? We're getting greedy at this point. We'll move on to our next bit of news. And this involves Highguard. And I want to say that I'm not an expert on this, and I haven't really been following the internet drama all that much. But that said, Highguard was a game that was revealed at the Game Awards last year, I believe. If it wasn't last year, it was the year before. And I know right off the bat, it had a lot of really bad buzz around it. I think people just thought it looked pretty samey. It is a, teams-based shooter, free to play, games as a service style game, right? By Wildlight Entertainment. This came out, and I think within 2 weeks of it being out, the player base dropped on Steam from like 100,000 players at once down to a lot less than that. And it was dropping rapidly. And thus, the vast majority of the employees that worked at the studio were all laid off. This is something that we've now seen so many times. And it's just kind of hard to see it continue to happen, and maybe it's just like these games have to cook for a really, really long time in order to come out. AAA, games as a service game development has gotten so expensive and so time consuming that I feel like a lot of these had too much put into them before they could be really canceled, the sunk cost fallacy of putting them out or whatever. But, we're seeing here gamers just kind of not responding to another one of these games. And then, the vast majority of the employees being laid off. Do you have any thoughts on this, Daniel?
This definitely crossed my news feed when they happened. And I think if nothing else, this is more of a situation of competition, competitiveness, and also a notoriety of the studios that are working on these.
Right.
Because you have so many live service type games that have been around for a long time. It is so hard for a new IP, one that people just haven't heard of before, to just break out and to be the one thing that people are playing. Because the whole point of these live services is that every company that makes these, they want you to be playing and being fixated on this game for a very long time so that you don't have time to play other ones.
Right.
And a long time ago, like, man, you get games like the Hoyoverse games, for example. Like they released the new ones, Endless Zone Zero, like a year and a half ago. But that's doing very well because it has notoriety from Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact. Hoyoverse has been a known entity for a long time. And they market that game like crazy. Like there's so much marketing, there's so much support behind it. It's very charismatic. And you have other live service games, like of course, like the ones we know, like Fortnite, for example, Rocket League, Marvel Rivals is one that kind of broke out and is done pretty well as also. But yeah, it's like you can pour so much money into it and all the time in the world. Conquered is the most notable example thus far. And it doesn't really mean anything if it's like there's nothing else there to it. And it sucks that in the same vein, when that game came out and it wasn't doing too well, people were just kind of laid off, or just the game was canceled entirely. Like it just, if it doesn't take off, it's just gonna be sent out to die, and that's really unfortunate. To have happen like this.
No, it's becoming almost. We didn't even have it in the notes at first, just because I mistook it for another game that this had already happened to. And I think there's a lot at play here, but I do really think that we need to kind of just chill on this style of game for a little bit. I mean, I think I think Sony at the very least got the memo on that. Like you said, they canceled Concord or they just pulled that game, right? You can't even play it anymore, right? But I think in addition to that, they canceled a lot of these live service games that they had in development, like the Horizon Zero Dawn game, the Last of Us live service game. There's a God of War one that also got canceled. So it's like, I think they see the writing on the walls for this genre, I guess you could call it as well. But it also just goes to show like how quickly the games industry, especially the AAA games industry, like chases trends. Because, these all got greenlit, 7-8 years ago or whatever, when they were really trying to do that live service push. And then only now, after, these games are in development for so long, do we really see how futile it was to just like flood the market with these styles of games when, like you said, gamers' attentions are already taken by the Fortnites of the world, right?
Yeah, it's so tricky because like for Conquer, for example, that development began like 8 years ago. It was like 2017, 18, where the market for this was starting to grow and there was something for it. But in all that time, all these other games of that same format have been releasing. Of course, they're all different genres and whatnot. But like at this point, we have so many other. We have such a saturation of the same style of game that it's hard to stand out. And so all that time, by the time your game comes out, it's not the fad anymore. It's just some people moved on. People are doing other things or they're playing other titles already. So it's hard to.
We're onto Balatro likes now.
Yeah, you gotta really have that kind of foresight and prediction for where the market is going, and anticipate like where will your game stand when it releases. I'm not sure how long Highguard was in development for, but I imagine like at that time it must have been a different market when development began into the release of now. So
yeah. I mean, and adding on to that, it's like the games that inspired the trend, like Overwatch, Destiny, Fortnite, like they're all still around. It's not like they went away. Like it's like there's still competition for the new games that were inspired by them, right? So it's just
those major ones, like
crazy.
The ones that we can all name off the top of our head, those are still around, and I can only name very few that have entered that space, like Marvel Rivals, for example. Like I can't think of a whole bunch that have been introduced and have just are continuing to be profitable for the companies.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to harp on this anymore. I feel like we've talked about this topic to death on this podcast, but certainly my thoughts go out to all the people looking for a job now from the Highguard team. And I wish the best for all of them, especially in this very difficult job field to find new work in at the moment. We need general unions now. That's all I'll say. Moving on, the Jurassic Park collection, classic games collection that came out just 2 years ago is being delisted. So definitely, if this is a game that you had your eye on, now is a good time to probably pick it up. I believe at the end of March of 2026, that game will be delisted. So Limited Run Games put this out. They do a lot of collections like this. Developed, at least the collection from friend of the show, Modern Vintage Gamer. MVG worked on this one. But I guess due to some licensing issues, the game will no longer be available, which is a shame, especially with these like classic games. You'd think that they'd be able to square away licensing for these for more than a couple years, but I think this also happened with the Bill and Ted collection. So this seems to be nothing new for Limited Run Games, but if you like classic collections of games, these Jurassic Park games are pretty good. You have any opportunity to play these? You played these when you were younger, Daniel?
I have not. This is like another one where it's like it gets hard with preservation and game preservation. It's like they're out for a while, then they get delisted, and then people have no way to play them anymore. Another example I could quickly think of off the top of my head. We were talking about PS3 earlier. There are some titles on there that have been delisted, and there's no other way to play them. Like one of the Tales of games. So we're waiting for that remaster because all we can hope for are collections and remasters or remakes to keep these alive and in the circle. And getting them delisted like this, it's rough anytime that they're just going to be gone.
I always like to support classic game collections when they come out because I do a lot of emulation myself, right? We had an episode on this recently, just like traditional emulation versus like Nintendo Switch Online, and the subscription model of emulation there where it's all kind of digital licenses or whatever. But I do think stuff like this, when stuff gets delisted, even these old games that haven't been available for a long time, this is just more of a reason why it's important to, I think, maintain a good community for emulation and digital preservation within just the Internet Archive and fans and fan preservation. I think is so important for the history of video games. And I do think that they can really live alongside each other. But it is important, I think, to continue to support projects like these when they come out, especially if you're somebody that enjoys traditional emulation.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of a PSA there to check out the game before it is delisted. Moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about the Discord age verification controversy. This has been really making waves recently, and as I understand, that should be rolling out this month. I don't know if it already has. I don't know if you've noticed in your servers if people are having to do the age verification yet, Daniel, but this has been something that they've been talking about to protect younger Discord users. And the idea of this is something that has been utilized quite a bit in Europe, where they basically have you either scan an ID into the app or scan your face, and then an AI will basically say if you are old enough, I guess. It's very creepy, and Discord has gone on record saying that, this will not stay in their servers and it's only being used for this verification. But then on top of that, Discord has already had major leaks with lots of people's IDs going out in the past. So it's hard to take them at face value here. There's lots you could say about the future of surveillance and the internet right now, and how this is being pushed as a guise to protect children when really it might be more to de-anonymize the internet. That is maybe getting into a little bit tinfoil hat territory, but it's hard to take any conspiracy theory as anything less than a theory these days, as so much seems to be proven true on a daily basis. But I'd love to get your opinion on this, especially as someone with a large Discord server themselves. Like, what do you think about this whole age verification fiasco with Discord?
Oh man, this feels like a identity theft lawsuit just waiting to happen somewhere in there.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know that, because like I know this has already been launched a bit more in Australia, for example. Like there's been some people who've been experiencing this here and there in other servers as well, just kind of popping up for certain individuals. But like it's so weird to think we have to like rely on AI for this type of verification. Like I've already seen stories of, there's like a teenage girl who would put fake eyelashes on, and that'll automatically read them as an older age. There was a young boy who they scrunched their face up, and so the wrinkles on their face would then tell them like, oh, this person is 30 something years old. And it's like, wow, that's, unless you have someone individually checking everybody, which shouldn't happen either. It's just a waste of resources and time, and it just makes everybody upset, honestly.
Yeah.
Our server definitely has a younger audience in there as well for some people, but I mean, if you're trying to protect from adult contents and whatnot, I mean, maybe they should try being better attentive parents, maybe. Just a thought.
Yeah, don't get me wrong about that. I mean, I think that's a whole thing in general. It's people have become way too dependent on these predatory internet sites to police themselves, right? And so whenever that happens, you find them going after data harvesting and stuff like this, right? And taking opportunities for that. I mean, Roblox is another great example of that as well, where really that's just like parents need to be more aware of what their kids are consuming when they go online. Like I know back in the day, like my parents wouldn't even let me use my real name when I wrote into EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly, and I got my letter published, and none of my friends believed me because I used a fake name.
Oh no!
But now it's like
pen name.
Yeah, exactly. But now it's like you get into strangers' cars with Uber all the time. You use online dating. You just meet up with random strangers. So it's like, it's a different world to be sure. But yeah, it's pretty crazy what's going on with Discord right now, and it's a real shame given that there's no real good alternative to Discord. And I think a lot of people have been talking about a Discord exodus and that Discord is over right now. But with communities like yours and mine that are so developed at this point, you can't really expect everybody to move over to a new app. And it just makes you really wish that there was some alternative to this other than, For instance, a company called Persona that has been used for verification in the UK is run by Peter Thiel, who's all over the Epstein files. It's like, what are we doing here? It's like, can't we figure out a way to do this other than just continuing to give all our data to the worst people on earth?
It's just so much to deal with at the time. I feel like I'm still dealing with the fact that there's still people moving from Twitter to Blue Sky, for example, because that was a whole fiasco in itself, just getting the concern of like, how are we going to keep up with the other people, the people that we know? And I'm glad that, like, for the most part right now, a lot of the people that I know via Twitter are on Blue Sky, and we can just kind of keep up with each other that way instead. And that's become more of a norm.
Like, games journalism space has certainly mostly migrated over to Blue Sky, which is great.
Yeah, I can't imagine like what we would do for a separate Discord, because there's so many servers I'm a part of that I've worked with other people. I have different groups of which I've done work with. A lot of my contacts that I do commissions and other person I work with is via Discord.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of like, how do we manage to keep up with each other in this kind of environments where there's just so many there's all these toxic things happening in different platforms, and it's like, how do we escape this? It'd be easier if they just did nothing and we just mind our own business on our own platforms to communicate with other people.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I understand that it's important to protect younger audiences from certain, malicious things that we might find on social media and other places where you can just where anonymity is very much prevalent. But I don't know. I know there's better ways to manage and deal with this sort of thing. I feel.
I think the great hard reset of the internet needs to happen sooner rather than later.
just hit the button.
Yeah. Someone hit the button, the doomsday button. I think it's time. What is it? Blade Runner Blackout? I think it's like with the plot of the new Blade Runner movies. But anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to our last bit of news here before our main topic. And this involves the Virtual Boy Nintendo Switch Online Nintendo Classics app, which if you're listening to this podcast is now out. And I have had the ability to actually play a little bit of the Nintendo Switch Online Virtual Boy games. Most people that have ordered their headsets have had them come in. Did you order one of these headsets, Daniel? Are you getting a Virtual Boy headset?
I think I'm a little... it's hard to be able to get one right now for one reason, and that reason is money.
Yeah.
It's an expensive headset for a novelty sort of thing. I've seen from my friends who've had it, like it's already been arriving to people who've been who've ordered them, and it's a very faithful replica of the Virtual Boy, as all their accessories are. Like for the controllers, they're very faithful to the original hardware.
Yeah.
I would like to play them in their normal format. I don't know if I have the money or room to have a Virtual Boy sitting around.
Yeah,
it's the problem.
I feel you. I was able to get a pretty good deal on a couple eShop cards, which I turned into purchasing this and also a couple of vouchers. So I tricked myself into saying that I'm saving money by buying this expensive thing. Didn't really probably work out that way, but the mental gymnastics that we do in order to get our treats will never stop surprising me. I will say the emulation is great. And I think the device itself works really, really well when you're talking about using it for Virtual Boy games, right? So I was able to try, Wario Land, the 3D shooter. I forget exactly what that one's called right now, but it's like the space ship shooter. I was playing that one, Galactic Pinball. I played a little bit of that, and Tolero Boxer. So I tried out all of these, and I think they're all playing great. I put them down because I don't want to put too much time into the Japanese versions of the game and actually put those into the US app whenever that comes out. But I will say there have been reports that these headsets are compatible with the VR Switch 1 games, which there were a few that came out back in the Labo days. And I will say that's mostly true. Like, for instance, you are able to stick your face in the Virtual Boy headset and play Breath of the Wild VR, for instance. But it kind of cuts off the HUD. You can't really see all of the UI on the corners because it wasn't designed for that.
I see.
So you can't really see how many hearts you have, or at least where I am in my replay of Breath of the Wild. Maybe if you have more hearts, you could see a little bit more of them on the screen. But
they're forcing the pro mode. I see.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. They're forcing the pro HUD by pretty much making it impossible to look at. Also, that game is just, I can't imagine playing that for more than 10 minutes. I got pretty nauseous playing that game in the Virtual Boy headset after about 5 or 10 minutes playing it. So I put that down. But then stuff like, for instance, the Mario Odyssey VR mode that requires you to look around in VR to get the full effect of that,
Right.
because it's like a stationary camera. You can't move the stick on that. So with the Virtual Boy headset with the legs, those aren't moving.
So you're stuck.
You know what I mean? So it's almost like if you want to play those games and get the cardboard version, that is Switch 2 compatible, or just play that on Labo if you can find an old Labo set or something like that. But that was like a little bit of interesting news that I saw online. Just people being like, it works with it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's technically two lenses that you can look through, I suppose. I hear Captain Toad plays pretty well, but.
Yeah, I've seen some footage of Captain Toad, or not footage, but I've seen people talking about Captain Toad. Our own John also did a video talking about the Virtual Boy as well.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know. I would like to. I'm sure one day I'll be able to get an opportunity to play that, if it's not even like, well, maybe it's like a demo, something at Nintendo World Store or something. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But I have experience with these games. Right? I had it on my 3DS, so you can do a little bit of tinkering around, and you can make Virtual Boys work pretty seamlessly and flawlessly on there. And I think the 3D slider works excellently with those kind of games. And some of the ones that I played are fantastic, like Total Boxer. You're mentioning that one. I think that's one of the best showcases for the depth that Virtual Boy and 3D can do in that game. I'm really excited for people to play Jack Bros when that comes out.
I love Jack Bros.
Very first Atlas game for Nintendo. No one ever talks about it.
Really amazing soundtrack on Jack Bros as well. I use the I think it's like the third or fourth stage in that game. I made a little remix of that song and have that as my like intro music on my Twitch channel. I love that track. Nice. Yeah, it's such a great song. But yeah, not every game is out right now. I think it's 5 or 6 games, maybe 7 that are out right now. But it is a pretty good smattering, and I think Wario Land, Virtual Boy Wario Land is certainly the best Virtual Boy game. So at the very least, we have that at launch, and I think it's a great showcase of the 3D as well.
I am going to be excited when Zero Racer comes out. As we mentioned, there were other titles that were Japanese only. And again, with NSO being able to give us the opportunity to play some of these, it's going to be like Virtual Boy F-Zero, essentially. Yeah. And that's all the way up my alley. I need to play that one.
So cool that they're doing that. Anytime Nintendo goes into the vault and pulls out that unreleased stuff, that's really, really exciting. Even when it's for a maligned console like the Virtual Boy. I will end this section here with a little bit of unfortunate news. I mean, I think we were all hoping that there would be a good 2D way to play these games in handheld. And I can confirm right now that is not possible, or at least it is possible, but you're going to be playing with very, very small 2 screens on the system itself. And I thought with seeing some, preview images and seeing how it's laid out on the screen, that you could just kind of double tap that home button to do the magnify that you can normally do with most games. But whenever the Switch is in VR mode, they turn that ability off. So that is simply not possible to zoom in and fill the screen up with just one of the screens on the Virtual Boy, which is a real shame, because I think most of these games, they wouldn't be as fun in 2D, but I think that it would definitely be good if they allowed people to play these games without having to buy the expensive headset. Because it's not like, you have to buy the N64 controller to play N64 games on NSO, right? So I find that to be a little unfortunate. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I had false hope that would be the case, but it certainly does not seem to be.
Guess I gotta buy a little cardboard attachment to look around with. Man, we need a the Virtual Boy really needs like some kind of strap around your head so you can play other games and not just have to be hunched over your desk to play the whole thing.
I agree. Or just as we said before, I mean, I just think that this is another good example of why emulation more traditionally is still important, right? I think, you can have the NSO subscription and pay the subscription fee and still have a hacked 3DS and play these games in a much more comfortable, palatable 2D or 3D mode in handhelds. So if you have a hacked 3DS, that is a definitely great way to do that as well. But I think that's going to do it for the news and rumors section of the show. We are going to take a very short break. And when we come back, we will be back here with Daniel Alba to talk all about Mario Tennis Fever. Don't go anywhere. And we are back with Daniel Alba to talk all about the newest Mario Tennis game from Camelot, Mario Tennis Fever. I was not planning on doing an episode on this game, if I'm honest. I'm going to be completely honest here. I wasn't planning on playing this game because there have been so many Mario Tennis games. And don't get me wrong, I am a big tennis fan. I think out of all the sports, tennis is probably my favorite sport. But there have been a lot of games from Mario Tennis specifically, and even recently. I think there was one for the 3DS, Wii U, Switch, and now Switch 2. So we have definitely had a lot, but I do think this game is pretty good. And I'm glad we're doing an episode on it. And I'm glad that you told me that you were playing this game, Daniel, because I was really hoping to talk about this with somebody as well. I've mostly been playing the online and multiplayer modes of this game. So I'd be very interested to see what you've been playing as well. But maybe we can start with just kind of your overall thoughts on Mario Tennis Fever. Has this been an exciting release for you, and are you enjoying the game?
Oh yeah, I've been getting my hands on all the little features that we have in here, from the story to like the tower, to the main game tournament, the main tournaments and everything. All the special courses you can play on with their little rules and whatnots, and online as well. Yeah, I've been dabbling with a whole bunch and getting as many characters as I can, getting all the rackets and seeing what all those abilities do, because those add so much to the game. Yeah, I started playing Mario Tennis way back on the N64 with the original Mario Tennis, and like that kept me entranced for a very long time. I love the tennis gameplay and style, and I remember a lot of my time was spent playing that with my dad, actually.
Oh, really? That's cool.
He was a Yoshi and Baby Mario main, as he also would be in games like Mario Kart and whatnot.
Right.
And so, yeah, we would have matches with each other, and I think that's where the game really shines, is playing this game with other people, whether you're on the couch next to them or playing online, or you're in a call with them and you're playing them as well. It really shows how, like, a game like this compared to other Mario Tennises in the past, there's been kind of ups and downs. We've gone from, like, Ultra Smash on the Wii U all the way to Aces that have been trying to make it a lot more competitive in the long run. And yeah, this one, I feel like it really touches a great balance between the party kind of style of gameplay, but also still being very competitive and heated in the most intense matches and volleys that I played thus far with other people.
Yeah, and online, you've got a few different options for how you want to play when you're playing ranked matches too. And it also does we're jumping ahead a little bit here, but it also does that Kirby Air Riders thing where it's like, you've got your ranked matches, and then you also just have like any room that you can go into with any kind of custom rules that you want to set up, right? So I think that's really cool, and it has a lot of variety when it comes to the competitive aspect of the game. But yeah, like you said, I think the big thing that sets this game apart from, say, Aces, which, I think Aces was a much more competitive, almost fighting game version of Mario Tennis. What really strikes the difference here is the racket variety. And, all of the rackets that you can use all do these crazy effects. I saw someone basically say it's like Mario Tennis, but where it's smashed with items on 100%, right? And it really does feel like that, especially when you're playing doubles and you've got like multiple people on each side with different racket effects on each one. The courts get really chaotic really, really quickly, and it becomes so much more about placement of your character on the court than any other game up to this point in the series, I think, right? Like, usually you just go for the ball and hit the ball, right? But sometimes if you've got a giant electrical current running diagonally across the court, you have to decide if you're going to go around it, if you're going to go further back, approach the net, whatnot. So I actually think that the whole kind of, crazy, Super Smash Brothers style item gameplay that the rackets provide really spices up the game quite a bit. And I think it really makes it worth playing, I think.
Yeah, I was concerned that the rackets were going to make it be too much of a gimmick, in which they were just something that people were just going to immediately like play around with a little bit, like that's fun, that's a neat little trick that they have now, and then just turn them off for the majority of like the competitive gameplay. But I'm glad they've been integrated into such a core part of the game itself now. I think the best parts where this game shines now is when someone sets off the racket's ability, And it doesn't immediately mean that you're going to apply it to the enemy or to whoever you're playing against, because in aces, it's very much just a one-way thing. You attack with it and they either hit it or they don't, and there's no recoil. But now every single ability, well, most abilities are that I go back and forth. There's some that apply just to you, but for the ones that you can send to your opponent to be a hazard on their field, they can just knock it back.
Yeah.
And so
because it only triggers when it bounces. Is that correct? It's like if you hit it before it bounces back, then it's still it depends on whoever it bounces on first.
Yeah.
Right?
It needs to hit the floor before it actually activates, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the opponent's floor.
Right.
And so those volleys in which like someone launches the like a fiery one, and there's like the sizzling whistle of a firecracker each time you're hitting the racket back and forth, and it's just like everyone you get more and more heated and panicking. Trying to make it so that this does not land on your court, because they can be very devastating, like from everything from the fire bars that take up a lot of space to like the spinies that actually like walk towards you, and they're all just so like uniquely interesting in their own ways, and they react with each other and the characters as well.
What are some of your favorite racket abilities that you've seen so far?
I've had fun using the bullet bill, in which every time you hit it, it just launches forward. And for people that don't know how to handle it, they just panic right away. And
they just get body shots.
It's too fast. Another one, it's funny when you use ones like, I forgot what it's called specifically, but when you hit it, it pushes them back. And so that ones like this, like I've never focused so much in a Mario Tennis game doing lob shots and drop shots before, because those can really help control where your opponent is moving. And so if you put a bunch of hazards on one side, maybe doing a drop shot on that side will help, because they're trying to avoid it. But then your opponent is like, do I walk over here anyways? And because they're going to anticipate that, or do I stay in a safe zone to in case they don't do that? So there's that constant mind game back and forth.
Which is always
other Mario Tennis.
That's always been the best thing about tennis as a sport anyway, is like the mind games that you play with your opponent. And it's always, I think that's why it's my favorite sport, is because it's very much this like one-on-one, like psychological warfare in addition to being a massive physical exertion to play the game, but this game, like you said, it really pushes that to its limit, I think, right? Because you kind of, if you play enough Mario Tennis, you can kind of just get good at the game and know like when to anticipate things coming in certain directions. But when there's so much like variety and there's, all this weird spacing situation, like you said, those lob shots can be really crazy. One I've really enjoyed is the Golden Dash racket. I really enjoy having that one, because when someone does lob it way over your head, you can trigger the ability. So instead of like hitting it back and sending something into their court, you just like quickly dash over to the ball and do these impossible saves or whatever. But then whenever you do that, you've done it. So then if your opponent takes that opportunity to do a drop shot or whatever, like right in front of you, then you're shit out of luck, because you just don't have time to make it back up to the net, right? So I think there's lots of really cool, interesting stuff that comes up with this. Are there any other racket abilities that you really enjoyed?
It's a chaotic choice, but I like the one where when you use it, it just uses a random ability from any other racket on the court, because that's when you get all the other ones.
Right.
That one's the true like Mario Kart, Smash Brothers equivalent of party game, in which you don't even know what's going to happen. You just use it, and then you might be shooting ink on one racket toss, and the other one you might just go invincible. And
so, I'm a variety guy. I might have to keep grinding until I unlock that one. One that I always get terrified of whenever it comes up, and sometimes even when I do it too, because I get worried that it's going to get sent back to me when I send it over, is the magic wand, where it basically just turns your racket into a frying pan. Yeah. But then it also like takes a bunch of damage, right? And that's something else that we should probably talk about, is there is HP in this game, which is maybe for the first time. Did Aces have HP?
Yeah, they had like racket stamina or durability, so the racket would break at some point, and you would just
Okay, that's what it
Yeah,
was. That's what it was.
pretty much a close equivalent.
Yeah, in this game, it's like basically you go a lot slower when your HP is fully depleted. When you're playing singles, and then when you're playing doubles, when one of the people's HP is depleted, they just have to wait on the sidelines for like 10 seconds, basically, which becomes insane when you're playing against two people.
Yeah.
It becomes very, very difficult to actually like make any progress there. But yeah, the magic wand one always screws me up. Yeah, I think we have the HP meter and we have the fever meter in this game. The fever meter charges up and then you can use your racket's ability. And that's very similar to Aces, right? Where, or at least it seems to be inspired by what they were doing originally with Aces, with the kind of charge shot that you could then use like motion control to aim on the court. Every once in a while, that was a new feature that was added in that game. I actually think that it's implemented a little bit better in this game, and I'd love to get your opinion on that. I'm a big motion control sicko. I really like gyro aiming and whatnot. Like I always turn it on in games, but I do think that this just makes a little bit more sense. The way that they're doing it in this game, where it more utilizes the stick in order to do the aim, and it also slows down time a lot less. So it's I think the like rhythm of the matches is less broken than it was in Aces. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, these are a lot more snappier. Like you'll use the ability and it's just a lot faster to get back and forth. Cause I know there's like a whole presentation that happens in Aces when somebody uses their special and it's just like, oh man, just
more of that fighting game influence, right?
Yeah, definitely. But I think the way they do it is a lot more fluid and you can get through matches a bit faster that way. Because there are some games that can take a very long time. Like if don't do a 5-set match, those take forever, especially if you're close in skill and it just goes on for as long as possible.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoy the format that we have here. I do think it's a bit more approachable than what Aces was doing, because like that was the skill ceiling for that was crazy, and I'm sure people are gonna find out some more crazy things with Fever as time goes on, like the meta and everything. Like I think everyone's saying how Donkey Kong is like the strongest, like the best character to use at this moment.
Oh yeah, I've gotten completely dumpstered by some Donkey Kong players online. I don't know how to play against him.
But yeah, it's like there's so many things to find out, because not only do all the rackets have their own abilities, it's how they match with the characters that use them too. Because every character has a different attribute and they have a unique skill or like a perk to all of them. And one of the main ones that I've seen thus far was how when Rosalina does a lob shot, she sends that to the stratosphere and it does a massive like crescent moon curve when it flies out. And I'm just like, how do you do that? But it's just a thing that Rosalina can do.
Right. Yeah, that's something I've been kind of discovering, because there are so many characters in this game. I think there are 38 characters in this game. It's like Nintendo really took the complaints about the lack of content in Aces at launch to heart and was like, okay, well, we're just going to pack this game full of stuff, right? So there's a bunch of courts right off the bat, or they're really easy to unlock, I guess, right off the bat. Not every one of the 38 characters is unlocked at the beginning, but I think the unlocks are all pretty easy to do, and the game tells you exactly how to unlock every single character, which is nice. Same with the rackets. But yeah, there's just an insane amount of combinations when you take all the characters' individual attributes, like you said, and their abilities, and then put it with the rackets. It really just makes it very hard to plan like a counter to someone else picking a character. You know what I mean? Because you really have to understand how all those things synergize.
Yeah. And with that, I'm wondering, who have you been using thus far as your mains in Mario in Fever?
I like Chain Chomp. I think Chain Chomp like controls pretty well. He's not good at doing like curves on his hits. I think that's kind of a bit annoying. I do like Rosalina, my Latina queen. I I think, like you said, her movement feels really good, and those incredibly curvy lobs are really awesome. But I like the babies also. I think the babies like move quickly and they pack a pretty good punch despite their size. What about you? Who are some of your go-tos?
Oh man, I started off with like my mainstays for other Mario games. So like Luigi was the one I started with. Shy Guy. As soon as I got him, I've been trying to figure out his little technical style as well.
Right.
Daisy has a really strong topspin when you use hers as in particular. So I've been using her too. There's just a lot of personality with these characters. Like I love how every single one, like in the original Mario Tennis, whenever you score, and there's like that brief period of like, oh yeah, you score 15 love, and then you can like move your character around and like run around the court,
Yeah.
just kind of in celebration or in disappointment.
And it works online too. I was worried that it wouldn't show up, but then I saw some guy just like spinning in place and like stunting on me whenever he beat me, and I was like, okay, this is good.
Oh yeah, they're animated so well to the point where it's like I'm surprised at how in detail they went. Did you notice like for a character like Boom Boom, when you're moving specifically side to side, he does the animation he does in the Mario games. Like when he moves side to side, yeah, he does this. It's like they didn't need to do that much attention to detail, but I'm glad that they did for certain characters. Like that.
Yeah, it really is great.
Shuffle.
There are some other ones, like I think what is it? The Koopa goes inside his shell whenever he like dashes and goes from side to side, and then comes back up. And
oh yeah, when Koopa dives for the thing, he'll like slide on his shell and spin around, and it's just as a designer and whatnot, it's fun to see like people being so animated and full of character. Because I think we were missing some of that. Like I think was it in Aces where it was just the typical like PNGs of characters that we've seen for a long time. It's kind of plastered on the character select screen.
Yeah, maybe I forget.
I think it's like something recent where they kept using the same ones, but here everyone has like their own specific renders. They're all new, and yeah, I think the only thing missing is Bowser needs his like tennis or like the golf outfit. But
yeah, what the hell, man? Everybody's got cool fits on, and he's just normal ass Bowser. I think that's such bullshit. No, but yeah, you're right. I do think there's a ton of personality. What is it? I think also like Spike, when you play as Spike, he serves by like blowing the ball up out of his mouth like he does in the other games. So little so touches good. Like that. I think that what Next Level Games is doing with Mario Strikers and their animation team over there, it's starting to infect other departments at these Nintendo second party studios, I suppose. I guess Camelot is not necessarily a part of Nintendo, but they pretty much work exclusively with Nintendo. But it's really nice to see the amount of detail. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about graphics. Like this is a Switch 2 exclusive. I feel like it maybe didn't have to be. I could see this running on Switch 1. But that said, it's kind of like a Donkey Kong Bonanza situation where it's like, I feel like that game could run on Switch 1 with some caveats and maybe at like 30 frames per second or something like that. But I will say this game, especially when you're playing in handheld, with the 1080p Switch screen, blasting at full brightness in your face at 60 FPS, I think this game looks pretty good. What do you think about the visuals for this game, Daniel?
Oh yeah. This game looks is beautiful to look at. When you're doing when you see the cutscenes, I was like, these cutscenes look so absurdly more beautiful than anything I've ever experienced on these Mario characters thus far.
Yeah.
As far as like a technical output, like obviously, for example, like another Switch 2 exclusive Kirby Air Riders, like that kind of needed the Switch 2.
Yes, I agree.
Be able to do everything that's happening on screen at once. Mario Tennis Fever absolutely does not need that kind of horsepower to play tennis. But I think it's more so like just getting the visuals to look as crisp as possible and everything look very neat and smooth.
Right.
I think it does benefit from the Switch 2 hardware more so than if they were like, oh, there's also a Switch 1 version. But I think dedicated to Switch 2 works out for them.
Yeah, I'm happy to see it, and I'm kind of over the era of compromise with Switch games, and it seems like we're in an era now where we don't have to do that, and that's just very refreshing. Because I know, like, especially at the very end of the Switch 1's life cycle, with games like Princess Peach Showtime, and a couple other first party games, I was like, man, this is not up to snuff for Nintendo quality. You could feel like these games were probably intended for Switch 2, or Switch 2 was supposed to be out at this point already. And they were just like, just put it out and let the performance be dog shit. But anyway, I'm glad we're not at that point right now. Yeah, I'm a little too harsh on Princess Peach Showtime. That's on me. Sorry, good feel. I still love you guys. But I think the game looks great. I think it looks great. It performs wonderfully. And the online is snappy, and I have had zero issues with any kind of syncing or slowdown. I don't know if they're using rollback netcode on this. I imagine not. Maybe just some sort of predictive movement stuff, sort of like what we see with Mario Kart Online, which I think also has really solid online play. But so far, I mean, I haven't run into a single issue playing against people online. How has your experience been in that regard?
Yeah, I play with people either just anonymously via online, or also just one-on-one Discord calls, just kind of doing a recording or something, or another kind of session. And like, yeah, it's been great thus far. I'm going to be doing a meetup with people for a 4-player stream, and I'm curious to see how that'll play while doing a consistent connection with each other. But I imagine like thus far everything's been pretty smooth sailing for this game, and I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, I was feeling pretty good about myself because I went over to my buddy's house, and shout out to my friend Jeremy, whose copy of the game I've actually been playing. So shout out Jeremy. He had a whole bunch of us over to his place, and we were playing together, and I was annihilating. I was doing such a good job. I was like high up on my horse. I was like, I'm the tennis master, baby. And then I started playing online, and I got humbled really, really quickly.
Yeah, that's my only problem online is people are too good already. I'm just like, have you been playing this for hundreds of hours already?
I know. When I see a Japanese username come up, I just start trembling with fear. I'm like, it's over. Anyway, don't get me wrong. There have been some good Westerner names as well. But yeah, I think the online mode has been great, and I think multiplayer in general is pretty stacked. You've got a good number of modes in this game, and some of them are single player, which I think we should get to in a second. But a lot of them are multiplayer, and you can do them multiplayer, including online. So you can play online rooms with up to 2 people, which is really great. I think that is clutch to have couch co-op that can then play together online. I want to see way more games doing that as well. But there is the tournament mode, Trial Towers mode, free play, Mix It Up, which is like a lot of the kind of mini games that show up, the ring game, and there's like a bumpers pinball style game. You can do that mode with multiplayer as well. And then there is also a swing mode, and I tried out the swing mode and I didn't love it. I'm not gonna lie, it did not feel as snappy, even as Wii Sports Tennis, which now is a very old game. But I don't know. Did you try out the swing mode? I don't know if it's for me.
I think that's the one thing I've yet to try in depth, because I've tried it in every other Mario Tennis that's allowed. I mean, with Aces,
right?
Or like games like even Nintendo Switch Sports, and it just doesn't really feel as intuitive as I wish it could.
I know. I'm just getting false things all the time. It led to a lot more frustration, and I'm sure there's like a better way to do it, but I do think it was a little bit of an afterthought in this game, as it also felt in Aces. It was like, oh, well, we have these motion controllers. We better put some motion into the game. But yeah. I haven't played much of the Tower Trial. I believe that's what it's called, the Trial Towers. But that seems like it's sort of roguelike-y. Is that correct? Have you played that mode?
That one, it pretty much just plants you into a predetermined situation. Like you'll be using, for example, now you're using PD Piranha against a Piranha plant, and you need to score this many shots against the opponent in this amount of time or so.
Okay.
Or like it's kind of like random situations that you come across in the adventure mode, which we'll get into as well. But it's just like predetermined situations and whatnots, and then you complete one, you go to the next kind of tower, and then when you complete all the towers, then you have like a massive list of all the ones you could come across, and then that's like another thing you can just kind of attempt to get, like star rankings depending on how well you perform as well.
Okay, so it's kind of taking like the Mix It Up like mini games and kind of putting it into a more structured setting, is what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, because I do like those, and I think it's a lot of fun. I really like the forest floor one, where it's like there are squares that pop up that are basically and it can, there's these piranha plants that suck up the ball and throw them back at you, and I actually found that mode to be like pretty fun. So there's definitely a lot of variety there, and I love seeing that stuff. It reminds me a lot of the original Mario Tennis for N64. A lot of the mini games that were in that game as well.
Yeah. The pinball one reminded me so much. I don't know why, but it reminded me so much of the Bowser Court in Mario Tennis 64, where like you would attack and you would get an item.
Yes,
like that was the Mario Kartified Mario Tennis in that mode, and I wish something like that came back. And this kind of feels like that in some way, because there's also stage hazards in which you land the ball in a specific spot.
Yeah,
the bumper comes up, you can like ping pong back and forth trying to hit the ball back, and if you score enough, like the bumpers on the side come up and the flippers activate. It's just madness with that stage.
I felt really good whenever the bumpers came up on the side, and I was like, okay, I'm protected. Thank you. It was like, I don't know, just whenever that happened, I was like talking to my friend. I was like, all right, dude, you're going down.
the bumpers on the side also. So I was doing this in a doubles match, right? And so when I was, with my partner, we were trying to score as much as we could, and then of course with the fever rackets and all that, I lose my HP, and so I'm off on the side while my partner's trying to defend, fighting for their lives in the middle of the courts. And then they activate the bumpers, and so when the bumpers activate, I can go back into the court, right? No, it's a wall.
You're just stuck out.
I had to walk around, and by the time I got to the court again, we lost the point. I'm like, what the heck, man?
That's so funny. Oh man, I'm sorry the bumpers were not as kind to you as they were to me.
That's just a funny wackiness that we just laughed about it at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk a little bit about the single player, because I will be honest, I've played single player stuff and I played a lot of the tournaments, but the actual like adventure mode of the game, I have barely touched. I know this is probably something you've been playing a little bit more. So can you tell me your impressions of the adventure mode of this game and if you think it's worth it?
It is mostly tutorial for people who have not played a Mario Tennis game beforehand.
That's what I was worried about. Yeah,
you literally start off as a baby, and like your first moments are just hitting the ball, and you can't even, because you're learning again, because Mario and everyone's turned into a baby now. It's weird because for some parts of this, like it's for these training sessions and these regimens that you're trying to do to like get your strength back as a tennis player, you're like playing little mini games from Mario Party essentially. And you're doing some single player, like with just yourself as baby Mario, and like halfway through, baby Luigi comes up as well, and you're doing like 2-player kind of mini games, and they're like nothing else you see in the game. Like there will be bullets coming at you, but you're trying to go either on the top level or bottom level, and like aligning yourself to line up with one of 5 bullets, but only Luigi can get some of them, only Mario can get some of them.
Yeah,
so you're aligning yourself correctly and you're hitting them back to score points. And there's a bunch of like unique situations and you don't see anywhere else in the game, and those are kind of fun. But then you kind of play them, and then they're done. You move onward, and you do more training to get yourself up to snuff. And there's a cute little story involved. I love how the game basically starts off with Daisy on her deathbed, and you have to go and get something to help her, and that's where
they're like sadly Daisy's condition was inoperable, and you're like, whoa, chill.
And we're like, what's happening?
I got to that part anyway, but yeah, like you said, I think that a lot of the first party Nintendo games, and this was a complaint with like Mario and Luigi Brothership, and also with previous Mario Tennis games, Mario Tennis Aces, or it was the Mario Golf game for the Switch. It's just like Nintendo loves to have these story modes just be really slow and tutorialized, and it's just kind of like, for me, it takes a really long time to actually like get into them, and it really makes me miss like Mario Tennis for the Game Boy Advance, which was made by Camelot and was like a very fast-paced and engaging RPG story. That was like a fully featured single-player RPG with tennis mechanics, and like I think every time we see, in Mario Golf, they were like, it's got an adventure mode. We got so excited, and then it's never really hitting that point that we want, and so definitely, if you're getting this game for the single player, know that going in, right? Is that it's not a very long thing, which is okay. It doesn't need to be a super long story, but it does seem to be not necessarily what everybody wants.
That's that's something that's been kind of annoying me and the rest of the GVG crew, in which a lot of the reviews, they focus so much on the single player, on the story
Right.
mode, and people are like, "Oh, I beat it in 4 hours. Now what do I do?"
Right.
You play the game. You
Yeah,
play the
you
rest
play
of the
the
game that you're
rest
meant
of
to
the
play.
game. Right,
Like,
right. Because there are
such
so
a
many modes in this game. It's not just the single player.
it's such a different perspective now, because like we were talking about Mario Tennis for the N64, that had no kind of like story
Right.
single player. It was just the tournaments and the side games. There was ring shot in the Bowser stages, and you can unlock courts and characters.
Right.
But like it was even more bare bones, quote unquote, than what we have here. But we enjoyed that a lot for what it was, because of what it had done and what kind of experiences you can have in multiplayer. But now we're just like, oh, if it has single player, it has to be like at least a 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 experience, or else it's not worth having it on there. And then that kind of hurts the rest of the review score for the rest of the game, even though that's mostly something for people who I mentioned earlier are just new to playing this style of game is for. Like, you could definitely make it be more like what it was on the Game Boy Advance. Like, that would be more engaging for sure. But I don't know. Nintendo has that kind of desensitization of like, oh, we gotta make sure we're accessible to everybody so everyone can have fun. And I don't know. That's just one of the things that annoyed me about review scores, is that they didn't really take into account the entirety of the game. And adventure mode is a very small part of what you'll be playing for the majority of your time here.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's good to view the adventure mode as just one of the several modes that are in this game. You know what I mean? It's like an extra rather than like the main course. I think if you view this as a multiplayer focused game, or even as an online game, because I do really think the online is very fully featured and there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with it, then I think you're going to have a better time and be a little bit less disappointed. But maybe as we're wrapping this up here, we can talk a little bit about the value proposition, because I do think that a lot of people are not picking this game up. And I don't have the numbers in front of me. Some of that is vibes based, what I'm saying right now. I don't have data to back that up, but I don't see anybody really talking about this at length, other than the kind of initial review period, right? And I wonder if that's because this is a $70 game, and we are now firmly in the era, it seems, where all the Switch 2 first-party Nintendo games are going, or at least the AAA games, I suppose you could call them, are going to be $70, right? And I think that, is that really that much more than 60 for a game that is very fully featured and has had a lot of work put into it? No, it's not at the end of the day, it's not that much more than $60, but I think it like puts a bit of a mental block. There's like kind of a barrier to entry when you see a $70 price point. And I just wonder if it might behoove Nintendo to kind of back up what they said about some of the variable pricing. Like I know like Doug Bowser, when he was talking about the $80 price point of Mario Kart World, during the reveal of the Switch or whatever, he did all those interviews with all the outlets or whatever, and he talked about how it's like, oh, this is part of our variable pricing model, right? But it only ever seems to be variable when it's over $70 rather than below $70. I mean, there definitely is some of that going around. I guess looking at you, $10 Nintendo Switch 2 welcome tour. But what do you think? Like, do you think that $70 for this game is fair? Do you think that maybe is affecting its kind of cultural capital right now?
Yeah, I think if I look at this game, like it's pretty much $10 less than a game like Mario Kart World, in which I imagine Nintendo is going to. We haven't seen anything of it yet, but Nintendo's going to be supporting it with more content, with more characters, with courses, and something throughout the entire lifespan.
Open.
And so it's like, I part of the reason getting that game was for launch was important for that. Was kind of the promise or the expectation, I guess, after Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, was that we're going to be getting a steady flow of content throughout the years. And I think for that, I think it's worth it for that kind of game. But for Mario Tennis Fever, I don't know, $70 is a bit high for a lot of people, I imagine. But there's a whole conversation to be had of like the value of your dollar for something that you're purchasing as entertainment. because it's like
Right.
you get a movie ticket and it's like a fraction of this amount here, but you go see the movie, you're there, you're paying for that experience of being in the theater, but then you're done, and then that's it.
Yeah.
That's the experience that you had. But you have a video game, and if you're going to get even 10 hours of time from this, I think that's a good value for the amount of money that you spend on it. And everybody has different parameters for what they consider to be worth their time versus money.
Mhm.
And like that's what makes the entertainment industry so tricky to place a price on right now, because we just essentially we're still living off of the base expectation of games that have been, normally $50 for the longest time. They climbed to $60. They were more expensive before, like the N64 and PS1 days. In some cases, they fluctuated a lot back then, and now it's just hard to put a price point on that evenly across the board when games take so much more to make now than they did way back then. But yeah, there's a whole other conversation of value and time and all that to be had there. But at the end of the day, Fever, I guess it might be a little bit too much. I would say this is at most, if people saw it as a $60 game, there definitely would be more people in the initial like knee jerk reaction of probably must be more acceptable to buying it. But yeah, it's hard to judge, man.
Yeah. I mean, I am torn to talk about this too much because I do really like this game. I think this game is great, and I think it's maybe one of the best, fully featured and best Mario Tennis games we've had in a really long time. I like it more than Aces, and I really liked Aces, and I think, after that, I think Aces was the best game we'd had in the series in a while, right? So I think I don't want to poo-poo it and say that you shouldn't get it, especially if you're a fan of these kinds of games, Mario sports games, and you have friends to play with. I think that's going to increase the value of this game quite a bit for you. But that said, I really think right now, as we're in this era of a little bit of uncertainty with Nintendo at the beginning of this generation, and we're seeing kind of just record levels of discourse online right now, like negative discourse around Nintendo. I think every little additional hurdle just adds up and makes it that much harder for Nintendo to break through back into the good graces of gamers. And I think that stuff like this, taking, a little bit of a loss on games like Mario Tennis Fever, maybe shipping this even for $50, I think sports games being $50, I think people would impulse buy that. If they saw a $49.99 Mario Tennis Fever, I think people would go for that right away, and you just sell that many more copies than people that are like, do I want this, or do I want any other of the big AAA games that are coming out, or any of the other Nintendo games that are coming out that are almost never going to be seeing any kind of price drop, right? So to me, I think it's a value proposition, and I wonder if we'll see any more variable pricing later in the lifespan of Nintendo going forward.
I've been a fan of Mario Tennis for many years. So Fever is a game that appeals to me.
Right.
I really love Mario Power Tennis. I think that the one for GameCube was the one that I feel like I had the most fun with Mario Tennis since a game like Aces.
Sure.
And Fever as well. Yeah, those kind of games, they're just filled with so much more personality and just a lot more character in them, from like the cutscenes that you see in the intro for Power Tennis, which is still hilarious to me, to the gameplay itself, which is technically that gameplay from Power Tennis is just what was the core basis that evolved into what we have with the Fever rackets now in this game.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I've just been happy to see the series kind of still push forward with new ideas and still be just a very fun thing for me to play, and also with my friends as well. So it's just something that I find to be worth my time and my money. But for those who may not want to, who already anticipate they may not spend a lot of time with it, their money is probably better spent using $70 somewhere else.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll see how many people buy Yoshi and the Mysterious Book for $70.
That's going to be a real, real question mark for me.
I'm just curious as to what that game is going to be like in general. We have not seen much of that game. Is it going to be a baby game for babies, or is it going to be the spiritual successor to Yoshi's Island? But that's not what this episode is about. I think we're going to wrap this up. This has been a fascinating conversation. Listener, what do you think? Have you been playing Mario Tennis Fever? Are you interested in this game? Is this something that you might be picking up after hearing us, heap praises on the game? I do think it is very, very fun. Let us know down in the comments or over on social media. But I think with all that out of the way, we are going to take one final break and talk about the games we've been playing recently. I have been playing, honestly, a ton of freaking games over the past weekend, or the past week, rather. Mostly been messing around with my AYN Thor device. I was showing that off earlier here. Man. I got a really great front end loaded up right now. The Cocoon launcher I've got running on this thing right now, and that has actually been getting me to play a bunch of games. And a lot of them have been kind of like hacks or enhancements or stuff like that. So I'm not going to go over all of them right now. I am still playing Kirby Planet Robobot. Almost done with that game. I love that game so much, and it looks incredible on this device. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Playing that game at like 1080p handheld on an OLED screen is kind of mind-blowing. It has got incredible art direction.
I am hoping for a remake of that the same way that they did with Return to Dreamland, because that would be incredible.
Yeah, and they really don't have to do too much to it. Just update the textures a little bit, spruce it up, put it in HD. I think that game has aged really well. But one of the things I've been doing has been getting widescreen Super Nintendo games going. So there is a great video on this from Retro Game Core, who I've got on the screen right now. Mode 7 games like Pilot Wings, which is one of my favorite games of all time. Those just work natively if you're using the BSNES emulator, which I've been using recently. And obviously those games just have 3D. They're basically built on 3D, right? So, when you expand the screen, it just kind of works natively. But there are other games that have hacks as well, such as Super Mario World. And I've been playing through Super Mario World in widescreen, and I actually beat it the other day, and I have been having so much fun doing that. It is so natural feeling to play it when it fills up the entire screen, and it all just works so perfectly. So I've been really enjoying that. That's been a ton of fun. Also,
post on that.
Yeah. It's oh man, it's been awesome. I'm in heaven. I just also love playing ROM hacks in general. It makes me feel like I'm doing something bad. In addition to that, I've been playing a lot of Picayune Dreams. This is a game I played a long time ago. This is a survivors like. I brought this up the other day when I was hanging out with Brian Bonnet, friend of the show. We've been doing some writing recently, and we played some games, and I was showing him just some indie games, and then that got me playing it all the time again. I figured out a bunch of unlocks, and I've been having a ton of fun with this. If you like Vampire Survivors, this is one of my favorites in the genre. It's got a crazy aesthetic, and the whole thing is just really wacky and wild. I really recommend it. And then in addition to that, another game that I played with Brian is the relaunch of Samurai Gun 2. This is a game that came out a very long time ago. And by a very long time ago, I mean like 5 or 6 years ago. But they have completely rebuilt and relaunched the game. And so I think right now it's currently only on Steam. They said that they were going to be adding this game to Switch like when it came out a long time ago, and it never did come to Switch. So I really hope that with this new 2.0 version of the game, which has been completely recoded and has a lot bigger focus on online mode, I hope to see that come to Switch eventually as well. But, it is a platform fighter, very similar to games like Towerfall, although the original Samurai Gun kind of predates Towerfall. But yeah, this game is freaking incredible. It has so much style, so much panache, and there is a free version of the game now too, where basically you always have one basic fighter that you can play as, and a rotating, like every week you get a different extra character that you can play as. So you can try that out in the free version, and if you like it, you can upgrade to the paid version, which is not even that much money. But Samurai Gun 2, incredible game, excellent multiplayer, and the online is phenomenal. What about you, Daniel? What have you been playing recently?
The first main one I've been doing right now is very recently. I don't know if you're aware of Life Bottle Productions. They are very much in tune with translating older games from the Tales of franchise, and they've been releasing them so that people actually have a chance to play them for a Western speaking audience.
Yeah.
And so last year they released Tales of Rebirth, which was for the PS2. That was one of the last games that they didn't translate over and localize before they started to do like Symphonia, Tales of the Abyss, and all that. And yeah, that was excellently done. I still got to play through the rest of it, but there was so much happening at the same time that I wasn't able to. But very recently, just a few weeks ago, they also released Tales of Fantasia Cross, the Cross Edition. So the thing with Tales series is that there's always been difficulty getting like the proper like what is the definitive edition of this game?
Sure.
Because it released on the Super Famicom way back in the day. And then it was released on like there was like a PSX version, I believe. And we only over here in the States, we only got the Game Boy Advance version, which is probably the worst version of the game for like the Game Boy. Some Game Boy Advance games, they had really bright, oversaturated colors because it was on a dark screen. So they had to kind of stand out that way. But when you actually give it a backlight, it hurts your eyes to look at. And so the color scheme got all messed up. There's like English voice kind of. There's some really awkward like clips for English that's in there. But no, the Cross Edition was for PSP. And like that pretty much has like the definitive looks and graphics. Like there's skits that have like there's voice acting, like actual voice acting in the PSP version, which is funny because it's a stripe-based game, but then you hear like very serious, deep voice actors speaking for this tiny sprite-based little man. But no, it's so good. The Cross Edition also has like 60 FPS during battles, because for those who don't know the Tales of series, all battles are like in real time. It's not turn-based. It's all happening at the same time.
Yeah, I was seeing that.
And one of the problems with the original versions is that when a magic user casts a skill, the whole battle stops and then the skill casts. And then when it's done casting, then the battle resumes. And that was like one of the things that drove me crazy. But with this version, everything is smoothed out. Everything is happening at the same time and at 60 FPS. And so, yeah, it's very traditional in its JRPG stylings. But yeah, it's always the battle systems that's got me very interested and excited to just get involved in any of these games. And having the very first game, the one that like set the standard for the rest of the series, and see it's held up so well even today. It's been so fun to go into that and to play that.
Yeah, it's great to see fan translations too. I think that's one of the best things about emulation.
Yeah, I got that on my Steam Deck. It took a while to get all the things correct and get the code in and working. For a while, I was playing.
Patching ROMs is hard sometimes.
Man, I had like the non 60 FPS going for a little while, and I was like, "There's something missing here," and I was like, "Oh, it didn't work the way it meant to." So I had to go dig into those files, make sure everything is in the right root of the right folder, and make sure that actually goes through. So
totally
happy to have that going. I'm like midway-ish through the game at this point, so I'm going to keep on playing that and consider doing a video for it, but I was so tied up with everything else that was happening about a month ago that I didn't really get a good chance to get that window in. But yeah, that's me just having fun with Tales of Fantasia at the moment. The other thing I've been playing, coincidentally, because it got the new game announced, I've been dabbling back in the Castlevania Dominus collection on the Switch, and the one I started with was Order of Ecclesia, because I wanted to do Aria of Sorrow, but then I realized, I should probably play Dawn of Sorrow on the Game Boy Advance first. So I ended up getting the Game Boy Advance collection too. So I started with my whole history with the series was starting with Super Castlevania 4, and then I played. That was on the SNES Mini, I believe.
Right.
I played the Requiem collection with Rondo of Blood, and then that led into Symphony of the Night. So I got a crash course of the series with those, but I haven't really dove into anything else thus, and I wanted to change that.
Yeah, the GBA and DS games are just incredible.
Oh yeah, Order of Ecclesia, like it's been so fun to do that and to see like the format change from what was first really established with Symphony of the Night, and just to see how the Castlevania series has evolved. So I'm excited to get into the Sorrow, the Dawn of Sorrow, Aria of Sorrow after doing this one, because I didn't realize those two had a story that to follow one after the other.
Yeah,
but
they're some of the only Castlevania games that actually connect like that.
Yeah. So I've been a big Metroidvania fan for a long time, and it just feels like something I need to get into. Very happy to see Belmont's Curse to be announced, so that I can kind of like, this is going to be the year I'm going to be getting into a lot more Castlevania games.
Hell yeah.
I know Derek on our crew is going to be happy about that too.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Well, those are great games. And I think with that, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much, Daniel, for coming on this week. It was such a delight to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me back again. It's always great to be chatting about all the news and what we've been playing and all this stuff. Just happy to find someone to talk about Mario Tennis with.
I know, right? Yeah, God damn it, we're out here. There are dozens of us. Thank you very much to MilkyWay.co for doing our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. Thanks to all of our wonderful patrons over on Patreon. And if you'd like to find me online, I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. What about you, Daniel? Where can people find you online?
You can find me and our main channel on YouTube, GVG. Very easy to find us on there. We do all sorts of news, discussions, features, and everything. I recently did a very long video. If you like Fire Emblem Path of Radiance and you played it through before, I have an 1.5 hour long video
there we go.
that I've done that you can check out that I'm very proud of. And I hope more people get to check that out too as time goes on. If you want to find me just on my regular socials, you can find me on Blue Sky, daniel.gvg.io. I post just design stuff and other little ramblings that I do from time to time. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, very much. GVG is an easy recommend on YouTube. And definitely we have a lot of Fire Emblem heads in our Discord. So make sure you check out the fruits of Daniel's labor. It sounds like it was quite an undertaking to work on that episode. And I've heard Path of Radiance is very fun indeed. If you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switchheads on Blue Sky and Twitter, at Super Switchheads on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We have a website, switchheads.com. And then, like I said before, we have a Patreon, we have a Facebook group, and a Discord. As long as Discord is not selling our data to third-party vendors, we would love to have you join us over on the Discord. It's such an incredible community. We always have post-episode talks and chats. It's where you can chime in and give your thoughts on the discussion. And it's just a wonderful, non-toxic group of gamers, which is becoming an increasingly rare thing to find these days. So we would love to have you over there. Make sure you like and subscribe over on YouTube. Leave us a review on Apple and iTunes, and share the show with a friend, like we said before. But I think with all of that, we're done. You guys know the drill. Be safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Go play some Mario Tennis Fever. Go play some real life tennis too. Real life tennis still exists. But fuck ice. Free Palestine. We love you guys very much. We'll see you next week.
Till we meet again.
Bye-bye.